Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University. School of Education, SOE. Bachelor of Arts, BAG. Education. Semester 6. BESE 142 Lifelong Learning. Block-1 Lifelong Learning, What, When, Where and How? Unit-2 Lifelong Learners. 2.1 Introduction. In Unit 1, you have studied the concept and scope of lifelong learning. You have also got acquainted with the concepts and the terms such as literacy, education, adult education, extension education, continuing education and lifelong education, as well as interrelationships among these concepts. Further, you have studied lifelong and life-wide dimensions of learning that extend beyond education and training. UNIT2 herein attempts to contextualize lifelong learners and explain their categories. The unit particularly discusses different categories of participants of lifelong learning, such as teachers and students in all systems of education, adults and adult educators in all contexts, all individuals, communities and societies in all places of living and working, and all those self-oriented to lifelong learning. 2.2 Objectives. After going through this unit, you should be able to categorize the lifelong learners or the participants of lifelong learning. Discuss teachers and students in all systems of education as participants of lifelong learning. Contextualize adults and adult educators as participants of lifelong learning. Appreciate all individuals, communities and societies in all places as participants of lifelong learning, and recognize all persons who are self-oriented to learning in their life as participants of lifelong learning. 2.3 Participants of lifelong learning. You are already aware that lifelong learning is a comprehensive and multifarious concept. It includes all sections of society, professionals of different fields, those working in all types of jobs in different areas of work, those who are self-employed, self-established, and those who are self-oriented, self-motivated, and voluntary learners. It not only recognizes the past and the present learning, but also attempts to provide for the learning needs and skill enhancement of all categories of lifelong learners by facilitating acquisition of knowledge and skills by them for furthering their personal, social, economic, professional and other pursuits. Thus, lifelong learning enhances social inclusion, active citizenship, personal development, self-sustainability, competitiveness and employability of all people who are the participants in lifelong learning. In view of the above, the participants of the lifelong learning can be categorized into 4 broad categories of lifelong learners, such as I, teachers and students in all systems of education, E, adults and adult educators in all contexts, E, individuals, communities and societies in all places, and IV, all those self-oriented learners involved in lifelong learning. Let us attempt to understand each of these categories of participants of lifelong learning. 2.3.1 Teachers and students in all systems of education as lifelong learners. Teachers and students of all systems of education form one important category of participants of lifelong learning. Let us look at this category of lifelong learners from the following viewpoints. 1. Viewpoint of different learning environments, formal, non-formal and informal education. 2. Viewpoint of the study of knowledge, liberal, professional, vocational and technical education. 3. Viewpoint of mode of education, face-to-face, open and distance learning, and online modes of education. Figure 2.1, Systems of Education. Look at the screen. Figure 2.1 depicts a holistic perspective of system of education in a country. From the points of view of learning environment, study of knowledge and mode of providing education. I. Viewpoint of learning environment. Learning environments can be formal, non-formal and informal, depending upon the system of education. In formal system of education, learning takes place generally in the formal schools, colleges and universities. It has its own goals and objectives. Students take admission into a formal education institution and pursue their study as per the schedule, curriculum and syllabus prescribed for the students of particular class level. Teachers are appointed to take the classes regularly in a formal learning environment. The various aspects of formal system of education, in brief, are as follows. It has specific aims and purposes. There is a particular structure or pattern of education, which is based on particular education policy. We can say, for example, as per National Policy on Education 1968 modified in 1992 in India, elementary education is of 8 years of duration, secondary education is of 2 years duration, senior secondary education is of 2 years duration and college education is of 3 years duration. Every level of formal education has a definite curriculum and prescribed courses of study providing for level-specific knowledge, attitudes, abilities, and skills. Completion of lower level is essential for moving into the next level of education. Teacher plays crucial role in curriculum transaction that includes classroom teaching, practical experiences, participation in co-scholastic activities, field-based experiences, etc. School, collegiate and university education are regulated by appropriate boards or universities. They lay down norms for operation of the relevant system including curriculum, teaching learning, conduct of examinations, assessment, evaluation and certification. The learning objectives are clearly specified and assessment and evaluation of achievement of learning outcomes at each level is managed by the relevant boards or the universities. The formal education system thus provides for continuing education and lifelong learning for its clientele, the teachers and students who can afford to pursue education only in its formal learning environments. It includes teacher training or teacher education system programs as well. Non-formal education system is also called as the alternative system of education. This is in true spirit of fulfilling or bridging the lapses in realization of the objectives of continuing education and lifelong learning. It comes to the rescue of all those who could not enter into the formal system of education or, having entered into the formal system, could not continue with it at any point of time. Through this system one can pursue education even after entering the job fields. This type of education provides for learning environments outside the traditional in-class systems of learning. This system provides for more flexible learning environments through face-to-face distance education, open and distance learning, online and blended modes, among others. Important features of non-formal education are summed up as follows. Like formal education, non-formal education also has specific goals and objectives. Non-formal education programs have flexible criteria related to admission, duration, courses, examination, assessment and certification. Non-formal education curricula are formulated keeping in view of the learning needs of the learners and are mostly customized to address the learning needs of diversified learner clientele: illiterates, out-of-school children, out-of-college youth, working adults, the persons employed in different professions and self-motivated unemployed learners. Non-formal education provides for more learner-centered, diversified, need-based and relevant curriculum transacted through different modes. Teaching learning process is generally learner-oriented and flexible in nature. Non-formal system of education also operates under the control of the appropriate regulatory system or bodies, as may be required. Specification of learning objectives, conduct of examinations and assessment of learning outcomes, and certification are done in systematic manner. Non-formal education system provides those learning opportunities to lifelong learners which are otherwise not available through formal system of learning. Non-formal learning environments thus serve as bridges that fill the missing spaces of learning in the formal system. Informal education includes all the lifelong learning experiences of the individuals gained from the family, community, society, peers, friends and other groups from different cultures, languages, regions and backgrounds as a part of living, working, or traveling in other contexts or environments. It is also called as incidental learning, education, the scope of which is larger than that of formal or non-formal learning. The features of informal education are as follows. Alain, 2018, https drsaraheaton.wordpress.com/2012/02/28/. Characteristics: informal learning. Informal education is based upon life skills and self-learning experiences of the learners. It follows the principle that education happens at any stage of life, and at any place, context or environment, and from any person or groups of persons. Informal learning takes place outside any formal or non-formal curriculum for education. It happens incidentally when the people visit different places and come in contact with varying environments at home, in society, or community, or with peers in other groups, playmates, and in clubs. Social ceremonies, etc. Informal learning is never organized, but it teaches the individual about living life and behaving in different situations. Informal learners are highly motivated to learn from different situations, places, people, and never miss the opportunities of learning. Informal learning is often spontaneous, contextual, immediate, and incidental. The whole world is the classroom as per the concept of informal education, as informal learning is lifelong and life-wide. The concept of teacher in informal learning includes the persons, the places, the environments, the experiences, and the situations. Informal education is very much essential for the lifelong learners, as they are the self-motivated and self-oriented learners. All the above systems of education, including all teachers and students, thus form the whole gamut of clientele and stakeholders of lifelong learning, the participants of lifelong learning. Their participation in lifelong learning helps them cope with all the above systems of education at different times and stages of their lives. No single system of education can ever satisfy all the requirements of the lifelong learners. Viewpoint of study of knowledge. From the viewpoint of study of knowledge, the system of education can be classified as liberal, professional, vocational, and technical education. All the three systems of education, formal, non-formal, and informal, have their respective knowledge bases and practices. Liberal education in India can be understood as general education that the learners take in the schools and colleges as per the prescribed structure of the national system of education, popularly called 1-0-2-3 pattern, i.e. 10 years of school education, followed by 2 years of senior secondary education and 3 years of college, higher education. Liberal education facilitates acquisition of a bachelor or master degree in arts, science, or commerce streams covering wide range of disciplines such as history, political science, education, economics, physics, chemistry, commerce, and so on. Accordingly, professional education is another system of education that acquaints the learners about skills and competencies required for pursuing or practicing a particular profession. For example, to become a teacher in a formal school, one should have a professional qualification in teacher education like a certificate in primary education, CPE, diploma in elementary education, D.L. Ed., Bachelor of Education, B.Ed., etc. Likewise, professional education is imparted in other areas and disciplines such as medicine, engineering, management, law, etc. Professional education prepares a person to serve the nation with due competence and confidence, and, at the same time, it also makes the person self-sufficient for his/her own livelihood. Vocational and technical education is also another system of education. It prepares suitable categories of personnel for practicing different vocations, such as welders, electricians, fabricators, fashion designers, event managers, and so on. This is possible by pursuing a short-term certificate or a diploma course related to specific vocational or technical subjects. One can opt for a vocational branch for such studies after the completion of 10th class under the extant structure of education. Of course, the vocational and technical education, as per the National Education Policy 2020, gets integrated under new structure of school education system, i.e. 5334 pattern, which has subsumed in it the extant 2 stage and thus done away with intermediate stage of education. The above systems of education are based upon acquiring knowledge and skills related to particular discipline, profession, or vocation. Therefore, both teachers and students are the lifelong learners so far as study of knowledge in different areas is concerned. Viewpoint of mode of education. We have already discussed lifelong learning or education from the viewpoint of learning environments, i.e. formal, non-formal, and informal. From the viewpoint of mode of providing education, it can be traditional face-to-face learning mode, open and distance learning mode, and online mode. Online mode. is the recent development catering to millions of learners across the world by using internet. It has equal application or utility in formal, non-formal and informal learning environments. By face-to-face mode of education, i.e. conventional system, we mean direct classroom teaching learning interactions as per the formal time schedule. Of course, all other possible media are also used now in the process of teaching the students in the classroom situation. Open and distance learning is the alternative delivery mode which caters to millions of learners pursuing their education at their doorsteps. It facilitates self-pacing and self-spacing in their learning endeavors. It largely benefits the learners who cannot attend everyday class for pursuing their education due to various reasons. ODL system uses different principles and process to address the learning needs of the learners. ODL can also be used for the professional development and skill enhancement of the learners. A detailed package of study materials for self-learning and effective learner support services together form the crux of the ODL mode. Multiple media are used for providing education in ODL system. Online mode is delivered and administered using the internet. Learners can enroll in the online education system from any part of the world and pursue any program of their choice and interest. In India, presently Swayam Study Webs of Active Learning for Young Aspiring Minds platform is used for educating huge number of learners through online media. It uses a 4-quadrant model of learning package that includes A. Content, audio, video lessons, synchronous and asynchronous discussion forum as well as assessment. The learning environments, study of knowledge and modes of learning are integral parts of all educational systems. Lifelong learners can select the appropriate system or mode of learning depending upon their needs, as well as accessibility, availability, affordability and competencies required for pursuing the relevant programs general, professional, vocational and technical. While lifelong learning happens through any or all the systems of education, recognition, accreditation or validation and certification of prior learning from any of these systems is essential for smooth facilitation of further learning across the streams, modes and systems. It calls for a well-planned system of education, driven by a strong policy along with sound, integrated curricular frameworks, providing for holistic education of all the lifelong learners. 2.3.2 Adults and adult educators as lifelong learners. All adults and adult educators in all contexts inevitably form the participants of lifelong learning. When we talk about adult as participants of lifelong learning or as lifelong learners, we understand that the adults learn for different purposes and in different contexts of life. The purposes and contexts mainly pertain to managing livelihood, making oneself self-sufficient, coping up with the changing scenarios of different walks of life, and keeping oneself professionally competent and especially fit for job market. While education is a lifelong process, training is an essential requirement that happens continually for successful performance of various tasks in different fields of life, work and leisure. Adulthood being the longest phase of life, major part of learning takes place during adulthood. Adults play significant roles in different spheres, personal, familial, social, economic, political and national, of their productive life. Hence, adults' demand for education and training is more with special reference to their vocations, avocations, socially useful and leisure time activities than other age groups. Depending upon the dynamic needs and contexts of life, adult learners and adult educators become more engaged in lifelong learning. They often play the role of informal learners or adult educators catering to lifelong learning needs of different sections of the society including all other age groups. Further, the concept of adult educators as lifelong learners become very much important as they involve themselves in educating the adults in different contexts. They try to understand the needs, attitudes, aspirations, and dynamics of community life to deal with various aspects of education and training aimed at serving different purposes. According to the theory of andragogy, the educator is obliged to make the trainees understand the reason why they have entered the educational process. Through a completely experiential training, it utilizes the trainees' experiences that have pre-existed or have taken place during the educational course by interacting in the team. IGNOU et al. 2015. Teaching and training of adults in different contexts and backgrounds require huge experience and training on the part of adult educators. Strategies, methods, techniques used in pedagogy are different in comparison with pedagogy. By being and/or becoming active lifelong learners, only the adult educators will be successful in achieving their goals of personal, social, and professional developments, among other things. Adults and adult educators are thus the inevitable participants of lifelong learning in many contexts: historical, economic, socio-political, and demographic. Historical background of the country, its independence, and its educational development at different stages form important contexts of lifelong learning of its adults and adult educators. Further, economic development of the individual, family, society, and the country is another important aspect for participating in lifelong learning. Demographic context is also equally important factor for lifelong learning, as it helps in understanding the physical situation of people in different places, easily accessible or hard to reach places in a country. Gender disparity in education is yet another aspect under the demographic context of lifelong learners. Further, the socio-political context, such as different social sections, their beliefs and stereotypes, as well as political will of different governments at different times towards educating their citizens, also determine the need of lifelong learning or participation in different lifelong learning contexts. UNESCO, 2016. Thus, individual adults, their groups, and all adult educators historically belong to diverse types of participants of lifelong learning, ranging from literacy learners to literacy teachers, instructors, to neo-literates to post-literacy and continuing education functionaries to adult educators and adult educationists at large. 2.3.3 Individuals, communities, and societies as lifelong learners. In this subsection, we will discuss how individuals, communities, and societies at different places form different categories of lifelong learners. Individuals as a category of lifelong learners. All individuals are the lifelong learners in different contexts and different purposes. People living in different socio-demographic situations require lifelong learning at different stages of their life. People living in rural areas mostly depend upon agriculture, farming, cottage industry, self-employed, and self-managed vocation or profession, etc. They all require lifelong learning to acquaint themselves with relevant knowledge and different skills. By acquiring new skills and competencies, they all will be able to enhance their productive capacities in the sectors where they work. Further, people living in different semi-urban and urban areas also need lifelong learning facilities or opportunities, as they are mostly engaged in different worlds of work, including government, public, and private sectors. They need to update themselves so as to meet the changing demands of different walks of life. For example, a teacher as an individual needs to continue updating his/her content, knowledge, and pedagogical skills as per the changing demands, short-term or long-term, of the relevant programs and policies. This is possible only through lifelong learning. You might have observed that presently massive open online courses, MOOCs, are getting popular across the world. Teachers, earlier engaged in the traditional teaching learning approaches, are now getting oriented towards developing MOOCs for their students, who are otherwise engaged in face-to-face system of learning. This can be facilitated through a short-term training program to the concerned teachers, which is integral part of their lifelong learning. Similarly, the individuals engaged in different small and large-scale industries in the semi-urban or urban areas too require continuous training to acquire the skills and competencies to cope up with the changing situations for doing more productive work. Lifelong learning, thus, is a driving force for all the individuals in their diverse living and working contexts to maintain a quality life. To start with, it is the right of all the individuals in most of the democratic countries to be educated or become learned. In India, every child in the age group of 6 to 14 has a fundamental right to free and compulsory elementary education, which is popularly known as Right to Education, as per RTE Act 2009. Children here implies all individuals, citizens of the country, irrespective of their ages, gender, caste, creed, etc. If it is not possible in the formal system of education, it may be done in all possible non-formal or alternative settings. This eventually forms the basis for their further learning or continuing education. In addition, even the dropout students as well as left out students at any stage of education become the lifelong learners when they go for their remedial education or continuing education by way of studying at the formal or non-formal system of education for developing their knowledge, attitudes and life skills and other competencies. For performing the activities they are engaged in, they require certain knowledge and skills. Lifelong learning works here as an important means to acquire the required skills and competencies to cope up with the fellow community members for working with and helping each other. Establishment and continuation of a community of practice, COP, demands regular interaction among the members for the cause of mutual benefits, and it is possible only through lifelong learning. According to Etienne Wenger, 2016, communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do or learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. Further, three characteristics of community of practice, COP, as stated are domain, practice, and community. Domain focuses on share a concern, practice focuses on learn how to do it better, and community focuses on interact regularly. Domain, practice and community in a COP may be characterized as follows. Domain. Community members have a shared domain of interest, competence, and commitment that distinguishes them from others. This shared domain creates common ground, inspires members to participate, guides their learning, and gives meaning to their actions. Practice. Community members are actual practitioners in this domain of interest, and build a shared repertoire of resources and ideas that they take back to their practice. While the domain provides the general area of interest for the community, the practice is the specific focus around which the community develops, shares and maintains its core of collective knowledge. Community members pursue this interest through joint activities, discussions, problem-solving opportunities, information sharing and relationship building. The notion of a community creates the social fabric for enabling collective learning. A strong community fosters interaction and encourages a willingness to share ideas. Community of practice, COP, equally works in collaborative efforts by using the various social media. They share their success stories and experiences that they gain in doing new things and in creating new avenues at the workplace. Presently, you might have been observing many such groups actively working in various social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. It is possible because of engagement of the community members in various lifelong learning activities of their choice, interest, ability and/or commitment for particular COP. Sometimes, community members get engaged in statutorily mandated groups, teams or committees. If we take the example of the provisions of Right to Education, RTE Act, 2009, you will find that one of the important recommendations of the RTE Act, 2009 is to establish a school management committee, SMC, and their work will be to develop a school development plan, SDP, for specified duration. Participation in such committees is also part of the community's lifelong learning. Development of SDP is possible through proper training of the SMC members. This has been observed that the SMC members are provided specific training in this regard which may form part of their lifelong learning. In the emerging scenario, you might have observed that online education is going to be more popular means, especially for the professional development of the job holders and those who are self-engaged or self-employed in different vocations. These form altogether different category or community of lifelong learners. Customs or norms of engagement in different works and interpersonal communications that result in lifelong learning. Here, you will study different types of societies that function as lifelong learners for their development as a whole. A. Knowledge societies. Knowledge society is often referred to as lifelong learning society, but projects and plans by individuals and groups in institutions to develop lifelong learning are more credibly regarded as a response to the requirement of the state in knowledge society rather than to an independent requirement of the knowledge society itself. Shah, 2017. A knowledge society generates, shares and makes available to all members of the society knowledge that may be used to improve the human condition. Knowledge Society, 2020. A knowledge society practices certain innovative ideas, develops and shares the resources as knowledge for the larger development of the society. A knowledge society takes the leadership of many innovative practices introduced in the society in many areas such as in education, health, life, skills and professions. B. Learning societies, a community that promotes a culture of learning by developing effective local partnerships between all sectors of the community and supports and motivates individuals and organizations to learn is called as a learning society. UNESCO, 2021. The definition of learning society illustrates that the larger society consists of many communities and sub-communities and small societies. Every community has its own knowledge base, beliefs and practices. It is the learning society that disseminates knowledge and skills to the community at large for the benefit of all the individuals through the practices of lifelong learning. For example, a school, a society and a community are so closely associated with each other to reinforce their functioning for mutual success. See, information societies, knowledge societies and information societies are interdependent. A knowledge society differs from an information society in that the former serves to transform information into resources that allow society to take effective action, while the latter only creates and disseminates the raw data or preliminary information. Fact is that knowledge generation never happens overnight. Information society disseminates raw data from one section to other section of the society. The work of knowledge generation starts from the raw data received from any societal practice. In the process, the raw data gets analyzed and synthesized to give it a shape of information. When the information is used in a knowledge generation process by adopting suitable methods and media, it becomes an accepted principle, process or concept. Thus, while the preliminary work is done by the information society to gather the raw data from its practices as a part of its basic lifelong learning efforts, the knowledge societies help in transforming the raw data into information and knowledge resources that are useful for the entire society at large. 2.3.4 Self-oriented lifelong learners. Lifelong learning is the ongoing, voluntary, and self-motivated pursuit of knowledge for either personal or professional reasons. It enhances not only social inclusion, active citizenship and personal development but also self-sustainability, competitiveness and employability. https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki, lifelong_learning. To explain the concept, the terms used, voluntary, and self-motivated pursuit, can be understood as group of learners who are self-oriented towards pursuing lifelong learning for many reasons. Persons who are engaged in world of work may be in different fields, areas such as agriculture, craftsmanship, dairy farming, mobile technology, tourism, etc., which require updated skills for coping themselves in the changing scenarios of working class clienteles. Persons engaged in these areas, professions get self-oriented to learn and acquire more skills through lifelong learning. They do it by pursuing a short-term certificate course or by workshop-based training programs, or as a part of performance of specific tasks. Many a time, you might have observed many unskilled workers engaging themselves in skill-oriented jobs and acquiring the required skills on their own effort, practice, consultation, self-study, etc. They do it all out of self-motivation, self-orientation, and commitment to the task. Lifelong learning thus makes learning continuous, continual, endless and free from any boundary as per their needs, demands, abilities, and interests. The self-motivated and self-oriented persons are the true participants of lifelong learning. We may come across many unskilled and semi-skilled persons who have become fully skilled persons through self-learning, and at the same time, they also provide skill training to many others. 2.4 Summary. Lifelong learners are spread across all sections of the society irrespective of their age, gender, vocation, qualification, etc. Every individual has certain potentiality to learn, to work and to create certain new things. Lifelong learning provides all individuals appropriate opportunities to enhance their learning. through self-orientation and self-study to become self-sufficient in required skills. If we classify the groups or categories of lifelong learners, the list may become very lengthy as it caters to all individuals, be they students, teachers, parents, members of various communities, societies, and so on. But they all are self-oriented persons, educators, educationists, adults and adult educators, retired persons, senior citizens, etc. So we can say that they are all the participants of lifelong learning and are the stakeholders of all opportunities of their learning. In this unit, you studied about different categories of lifelong learners who are the participants of lifelong learning. They are teachers and students of all systems of education, adults and adult educators in all contexts, all individuals, communities and societies in all places, and all those self-oriented to lifelong learning. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.